How's it, everyone? Hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome to How's It Cousins, the podcast where we take a look at the unique people of the world. We talk about them, we relate to them, and hopefully we relate them to you, the listener, and this week especially. On today's show, we're going to do something a little different. We don't normally do things like this. To be completely transparent, we actually had a bunch of content that we had recorded previously and we were going to release later on. But recent events have kind of led us to conclude that we should get this out sooner than later. So we accelerated our processes so that we can share this with you now. What I'm referring to is that on November 12th, 2018, we got news that Marvel Comics founder Stan Lee had passed away at age 95. Now, Stan Lee has been a huge inspiration on our lives, as has Marvel Comics. The characters that he's created personally, as well as his public figure persona of Marvel Comics, has really affected us as we are growing up and even to this day with the Marvel content that we consume now. I can personally say that Stan Lee has inspired me in more ways than one, and I'm sure Alvin feels the same way.
You know, when I heard the news, man, it was a good kick in the face. I think very highly of Stan Lee. And I mean, I knew he was an older gentleman. I knew that. But still, when the news hit, I was just like, oh, man, I was so bummed. You know, it's just sad, man.
So stick around with us today for some of our greatest Stan Lee memories. If you like what you're hearing, you can check us out on all the popular podcast services. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, no matter what service you're using. If you want to see more of our stuff, check out howsitnetwork.com. All the new stuff goes up there. Follow us on social media at Howsit Network on all the popular social media platforms. Alvin, is there anything you want to get into before we take a dive on Stan Lee?
Yeah, man, I am Aloha Alvin, and you can find more of me at alohalvin.com.
So Stan Lee, excellent. One would say he's the greatest. What do you think?
I think very highly of him. You know, it's a weird thing when you think of, like, for a lot of people, you can ask them, name your favorite superhero, whoever that is, just throw it down. Oh, okay, well, Spider-Man. Oh, cool, Spider. Do you know who created him? You know, you can trace that line straight back to Stan Lee. Now, the sick thing is, if all Stan Lee did was make Spider-Man, that's already amazing. But no. You know, there's many, many, many names that trace back to him. And that still blows my mind. Just one dude. It's amazing. I love that.
So before we get too far, I forgot to give everyone a quick rundown. Stan Lee, known famously to be we'll say almost like the godfather or the founder of Marvel Comics. You know, for all the great movies that have been coming out, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is what I guess today's population would know best about Marvel. Stan Lee was the first. He was the original, the OG Marvel guy.
Yes,
totally. He is the one most associated with OG Marvel. And that, like, as you had mentioned, like, he created Spider-Man and many other of the popular characters. Also, fun fact, he makes a cameo in almost every Marvel movie. And that's not just like the more recent ones like Iron Man and the Avengers. That goes all the way back to like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, you know, back in the late 90s. So Stan Lee has huge ties to Marvel. He's probably like living off of royalties right now. And it's amazing. I mean, he's really old too. I mean, he's like 90, 94, 95, something like that. He's super old, but yet still manages to make movie appearances and public appearances and things like that. Pretty awesome.
You know, and I did not realize he was in his 90s. I knew he was an older gentleman, but wow, okay. That's pretty cool too. Yeah. Did not know that. Okay, Chris, I got to throw this at you, man. This is some writery goodness. So here's the thing. Say you wanted me to write anything about anything, like let's just say Spider-Man or Fantastic Four. Okay, well, all right, Alvin, get to it. No problem. I'm going to start thinking about it. What do I need to do? Well, I need some characters. I need a setting. I need all these things. I need a beginning, middle, and end. That's how I write. The reality is that's how a lot of people write. You know, they just plot it all out. So there's something, I forgot what it was called, but let's just call it conventional writing. There's something called like conventional writing. Then there's called Stan Lee writing or Marvel style. So I came across this in a book and I thought it was pretty ridiculous. So here's the thing. If you wanted me to write one character, cool, I can do that. Just give me a second. Let me cook something up, You want me to write 2 characters? Yeah, no problem. Okay, if you want me to write 15 characters, this could be a problem. Like most people can't handle that. That's a lot of shit to juggle. And like when you think about it, like a plot twist here or there, all that, like that's really hard to juggle all those things. Unless your name is Stan Lee. So Stan, apparently, he did I forgot how many he was juggling in the beginning, but it was ridiculous. Like I've never heard that number outside of Stan Lee ever. So the question now is, how do you do that? How did that happen with him? So in his case, I forgot how deep he would go, but he would say certain things like, let's just say Spider-Man. Okay, so there's this guy, it's Peter Parker. He's gonna do this kind of stuff, and then go artist, draw these things. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wait, what do you mean? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. So let's just clarify first. Right now, when you write a script for the comics, to my knowledge, it looks exactly like a movie script. So panel A, far shot, mountainous landscape, panel B, zoom in on the man's eyes. Panel C, fist fight, whatever. Like all these things are broken
Storyboarding,
down.
Right?
Yeah, storyboarding. Yes, exactly. Storyboarding. Stan Lee's style was pretty different. It was like, to my knowledge, it was something like, do some mountains and some fighting. Go ahead, deal with it. And the artist is like, okay. So the artist would draw, then it would come back and be like, yo, Stan, this is what I got. What do you think? Stan will look at it and be like, let's say there's 2 guys staring at each other in the face. Okay, now we have dialogue. Maybe they're talking shit right before the fight. It'd be a great moment. But if a different artist says, you know what, I want more landscape stuff. Okay, then Stan says, you know what, let's do more narrating then. Let's talk about the past. Maybe what else is happening on another continent that's going to affect this. Like, he'll just adapt on the fly. And 1, that's some serious cojones because that's not easy to do. 2, that's how you juggle like 15 characters. That's ridiculous. And he made it look easy. We have multiple characters now and they all come from him. That's amazing. Amazing, man.
And the crazy part about it is a lot of these characters, they're very they're deep characters, right?
Yes.
Like they're not just like one-off superhero type tropey characters. Like Spider-Man, for instance, there was always the main thing of Spider-Man was the whole juggling Peter Parker real life versus Spider-Man, superhero life. The whole like with great power comes great responsibility, and how Spider-Man himself does crazy things and saves people and fights crime, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, you might want to call it. But, throughout the comic book, history, or I guess as the character's been adapted, Spider-Man, like Peter Parker's like fucked up. Like he has all kinds of problems.
Totally.
Yes. So, and I'm not sure that Stan had that type of vision for every single character, but I know that he has had input on many of them as as the characters have been developed over the years.
Yes. Like some characters have changed over time, but for instance, to me, Gwen Stacy is still Gwen Stacy. She's the blonde girl who's happy and fun. And that's pretty cool that she hasn't changed over all this time.
Until you get to Spider-Gwen.
Yes. Also true. Well, just by that name, it's a different reality. You can tell it's a different thing. But yes, also good though. Yes.
For those that don't know, Spider-Gwen is another universe version of Gwen Stacy, featured prominently in the intro to the Spider-Verse movie coming out soon, which actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully this podcast airs before that comes out because I said it like that, but we're definitely recording it before it comes out. So, hey.
Yes. Okay, so random stuff because I thought of this when you're talking about Peter Parker. I think this is directly from Stan Lee or possibly someone commenting on his work. But there's a character. His name is Peter Parker. Another character, Bruce Banner, Reed Richards. There's like a lot of alliteration. And I think someone asked him like, yo, what's up with this? Is this a coincidence? And then Stan even said like, bruh, I'm juggling so many characters. This is just one mechanic I'm using to help me remember it all. And all I could say was, that's badass. Like, again, awesome. Using mnemonics to make it easier on himself. Love it. All that stuff. Love it.
I feel like just even those names, just in that way, make the character more, I don't want to say fun, memorable. Even to the reader, right? Bruce Banner, Peter Parker, Reed Richards, like you said, it makes it more of a welcoming type name, like something that you can associate with fun. At least that's what I think of when I hear those things.
Totally. There's a sing-songy kind of a rhyme feeling to it. It's just a pleasure to say. It just works. I am a writer, and I can say absolutely, naming stuff is hard. It's very hard. And for Stan to have all these characters, again, badass. Love it.
So not to dive too far away from the writing thing, but my question to you now is: do you have a favorite Stan Lee movie cameo?
Oh,
Do you have one in mind?
you know what? Okay, I would have to see a list for an official answer. Having said that, there's one I really like. And I want to say it was an Avengers movie and it was with Ultron. So it must have been Age of Ultron. But there's a part where, okay, so this is not when they're doing battle. And this is the part where they're all dressed up for like party time, pretty much. They're chilling.
Mm-hmm.
This is essentially the scene where.
That's when he was drunk, right?
Yeah. This is essentially the Lift Mjolnir stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think this is the one where someone says, I have really powerful drink here, but it's not meant for you. And Stan says something like, man, I can drink that. It's just a fun banter. And I love that scene.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah. I think it was Thor. Thor's bringing out this alcohol is from the, some ancient place and it is super strong. Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one. I like Tony Stank.
Oh, that was great.
Tony
Yes.
Stank, yeah.
Yes.
And then the other one in Deadpool when he's the DJ, that's kind of cool too.
For the record, I believe he has officially said that Deadpool DJ thing was his favorite.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fun one for him to be in. Like, better than like the Spider-Man ones, if you ask me. Like the old Spider-Man one.
Okay, so I thought about this. Like one of the Spider-Man ones, but it was the newer Andrew Garfield, I believe, was when he was a janitor and he's sweeping, and in the background was this crazy fight. That's the juxtaposition is for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this when I saw that. If I had to be one character in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think the answer would still be Phil Coulson. I think I'd want to be him the most. So a couple of reasons. One, you're always in a suit. You're important.
as opposed to like tights or like.
Well, true. Yes, or like rolling in the mud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. I'll pause you for 1 second. Have you seen Agents of Shield?
A little bit. I've seen chunks of it, but I did stop after a while.
It gets. Yes. I mean, I didn't catch up through all the season, but Phil Coulson gets down and dirty. Let me tell you.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's
wow.
not always nice suit. He gets down.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, the flip side of that too is like what happened there is he was a dude in a movie, not a big role, but he was a speaking role. Then a dude got his own show. That's amazing. I love all that.
Yeah, Agents of Shield is a fun show. Anyway, sorry. Continue. Why would you want to be him?
See, all that good stuff. Now, the reason why I say that is who would be the second person? And I'm not sure. You know what? I would absolutely enjoy being Stan Lee's cameos. That's just fun. Like I will sweep, I will like mop up the dirt or whatever on the ground. If Spider-Man and Lizard are fighting behind me, hell yeah. All that stuff. That was fun. Every time I see him, I'm like, hey, it's him. Puts a smile on my face. It's just a great reaction. Love it.
Mm-hmm. The other one I really like, I think was it Doctor Strange, the one he was the Watcher? I think it was Doctor. No, I think it was Guardians 2.
Yes, I was going to comment on that. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so as a person who lives in the real world, I'm a muggle or a mundane, depending on what universe or thing you're thinking of. I'm just a normal dude. As I watch these movies, I think, oh, that's cute. And hey, Stan Lee, good for him. The flip side of that is if I were, say, a writer or a creator in that universe, some people have done this. Like, what the hell is Stan Lee? Like, think about it. What is he? How is he in all these different movies, right? Like, how is he in different timelines? How does he make all that happen? And I remember someone saying once, he's a watcher. Okay. The thing about that is, one, the Watcher exists in Marvel Comics. He's that character who watches over everything but cannot interfere, or at least that's his own reasons. He doesn't interfere. For me, that kind of kills the fun a little. I mean, well, actually, I guess for some people that increases the fun. But for me, it's just let the guy have fun. That's how I look at it. So it was interesting, though, to hear that connection. Like, that's how he can go from one continent to the other, from one timeline to the other. He's not a normal human. He just looks like a human. He's actually a Watcher. So I thought that was interesting.
I thought like when I first saw it, I was like, wow, like that could explain everything if they wanted to make, the whole connected universe thing. And it makes perfect sense with the canon of the Watchers themselves from Marvel, right? I don't know that they've actually come out and said that that's what it is. I don't
Oh
think
no, no,
so.
I don't know about them, but I mean like fans.
Oh no,
Fans come up
no.
with their own thing.
Oh yeah, fans are definitely like, coming up with their own shit like about, oh yeah, he's a watcher. It makes sense. He's in all the movies, right? Same guy or different type of role, but same guy, all the movies, just watching, creeping on them, if you will.
See, okay, so normally I would say that it does not apply because what I've seen, what I remember as a kid, and what I've read is the Watcher's always that dude in the background, like literally audience member almost. He never talks to them. That's what I've read. Until recently, I've seen the Watcher talk to someone, and I'm like, wait, what the hell is happening? So I don't know if that breaks it or not. And I say that because Stanley absolutely talks to them, like the Tony Stank thing. He's interacting with them. So to me, that makes it not Watcher level. Just by being there, by talking to them, it affects things. Jane Goodall, you know?
Hmm.
So see, that's why it's touchy for me. It's still cute. I like it. It's a cute premise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So this is from the Jessica Negri commentary, and I was saying that her panel is fucking ridiculous, but it is second place because first place, best panel, hands down, Stan Lee. I will say this, as a guy who has never heard any other Stan Lee panels, that was the first time I was sitting there and I was enthralled and I was enjoying it. I do not know what the other panels are like, but I will say it seemed polished. It seemed on point. Every joke was good. Every joke worked. There was one he didn't like, and he told himself, "Yo, mental note, fix that." And it was funny because he was making a mental note or whatever.
Well, he said those words during the.
He either said mental note or he told the other guy, "Yo, remind me later. We're gonna fix that." You know, like that wasn't good enough. I have a better anecdote, and I'm gonna use that in the future. Something like that. It's very professional.
Mhm.
Let's say my goal was to drive from A to B or fly a plane from A to B. Now the reality is, flying a plane, I can do crazy ass loop the loops. I can go backwards. I can fuck it all up. But as long as I get to B, I will have in theory accomplished what I've done. But the equivalent of what I think of for Stan Lee is like, say he wants to go from A to B. He's slightly off course. He's tilting right. All right, let's fix it 1 degree. All right, let's fix it one more degree. With each pass, it just gets better and better. And I think what I saw that day was the equivalent of a perfect flight. And then the one problem that he didn't like, which didn't bother me, but it bothered him, the one thing he didn't like, he was like, no, we'll fix this 1 degree again. And this is going to be smooth fucking sailing from now on. And I thought that was badass. You know, that is a level of professionalism that I can only salute. Incredible.
Okay, so I have never been to a Stan Lee panel. I assume it was like Honolulu Comic Con or Hawaii Comic Con that you're talking.
It was
So,
probably amazing. But yes,
Amazing Con, you mean?
most likely. Yeah.
Okay. So for every panel or thing that I've been to, it's kind of divided into two parts. One is I'll say the announcements and we'll say the scripted part, the planned part, and then normally they open up for questions. Again, I haven't been to a lot of them, but while the scripted part is good and it sounds like the Stan Lee one was awesome, I'm curious on his, I guess, ability to improv and answer questions because
Okay.
to me, that's a pretty entertaining part of a panel is the whoever it is, answering, talking, and their ability to take whatever questions that the audience throws at them, which is random, right? There's no way you can control what comes out there. And
Ooh, touchy. But yes.
well,
Continue.
some guys are super PC. A lot of times if you go to something and they ask about, oh, what are you working on now? What's like upcoming next? You get oh yeah, I can't talk about that, and that's fine, right? But some people will, I guess, answer even that kind of question differently or in a more entertaining way. So, what was the other half of that panel like?
Okay, Chris, I got plenty to say.
Oh boy, okay, this is great.
Okay, so there was someone, and I don't remember who it was, but even if I did, I wouldn't mention his name. But some guy, this was his panel. Okay, his panel was like this. Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for coming out. All right, questions, go ahead. And then that was it. And I was like, holy shit. Now, on one hand, sometimes that works. On the other hand, this is what I saw. Okay, no, like, yeah, anybody can just come right up. Questions. Yeah, let's do this. Questions. And everyone was just kind of like, we don't have questions, See, now the flip side is if he was a question master and he was badass at it, then so be it. However, he still needs something in the back.
Oh yeah.
Because there was a lot of dead air right there. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, come on, just tell me anything. I don't remember if he was an artist, but it was like, just talk about drawing. Like, who gives a fuck? Because right now we just have dead air, bro. And that was that guy's panel. maybe somewhere else there would have been more questions, but still, it's kind of like, okay, do you have anything else? Because I'm just sitting here as an audience member. Like, I don't have anything from you. Now, another point. I was at some kind of thing. I don't remember what it was, but you get to walk around, EMT stuff, CPR stuff. You can just ask stuff. It's like a fair.
Like
So I'm like,
EMT,
cool,
like
right?
medical type stuff.
Medical, totally unrelated.
Okay,
I'll dial it
okay.
back.
We're going
But
somewhere with this,
yeah,
listeners. We're going
of course
somewhere.
I'm with this. So I go there and I'm like, oh shit, is that an ambulance? And the guy's like, yeah, do you want to come in? I'm like, yeah, I totally want to come in. So I'm in the ambulance and I'm walking around. It's essentially, I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, what is that? Oh, what is that? You know? So one of the questions I had was, is that the stretcher you guys use? Yeah, totally. We use this stretcher to carry people. Then I say, what if a dude is so big he doesn't fit on the stretcher? I'm like, oh, let me explain how that works. So here's a TLDR of that. They literally just put the guy on the ground. Wherever there's space, they make it happen, which makes sense, right? The dude's bleeding, they help him. I thought my question was pretty good. It happened spontaneously. He didn't know it. I didn't know I was going to ask that either, but it came out. So we're there, and it was like, hey, do you want to sit in the passenger seat or whatever seat? Fuck yeah, I'll sit here. I'm looking around, looking at stuff. Then a couple of girls come in because it's the fair. People get to ask random stuff. So the girl starts asking stuff, and I'm like, oh, that is interesting. I'm learning new stuff today. It's pretty cool. Then I hear her say it. What if a guy is so big he doesn't fit in the stretcher? I'm like, oh, wow, deja vu, man. I do not know that girl. She don't know me. That was not planned, but it still happened. And I say that because Stan Lee had a moment like that. Little kid goes up to the mic. Little kid says, which Spider-Man is your favorite Spider-Man? Boom. Instantly he had an answer. It was the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire. It was like, Tobey Maguire, boom, period. Tobey Maguire. I'm like, wow. Now
was that pre-Tom Holland?
It was pre-Tom Holland. See, now that question becomes a new thing again. But back then it was like, Tom Holland, next. Oh, he was ready. He had it. I don't remember if he had a story to go with it, but again, he was used to it. So that I think was his, what if a dude is too big for the stretcher? Like he's heard that before.
A million times.
He was ready. Yeah. So in a way, because I agree with you, the ability to dodge or catch a fastball or whatever, a curveball, whatever, that's a thing. And that is cool. And he had that as well. Stan Lee is a beast. He was all over that. Like nothing fazed him. And I was like, good for you, man. That was really good.
And once again, this is like a 90-something-year-old man at that point when you saw him, I'm sure. Yes. Like that's amazing.
Okay. I will say this other thing about Stan Lee. So there was a guy, I don't remember who it was, but he had, so this is like Artist Alley. Essentially, that's where all the artists chill and then you can go meet them. Sometimes they're pros, sometimes they're locals, whatever. It's all good. So I'm walking around Artist Alley and it's cool. I want to ask people stuff. And I see a dude and I don't remember his name right now, but I know when I saw his name, I'm like, oh, I know you. This is badass. So I walk right up to his table. I'm like, hey, this is ridiculous. There's no line. What's up? And he's like, oh dude. I'm like, what? It's a huge line. but the queuing up part happens elsewhere. I'm like, oh, oops, sorry. Didn't mean to cut. You know, it's got a line. No problem. What I heard, and I think this is the same guy, what he does is admirable. What he says is, yo, if you got kids, bring your kids. I'll draw shit for them. It'll be great. And people do. They bring their kids. I don't know if he charges. I think he doesn't, which again is incredible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not amazing. Like, fuck, what a great guy. The flip side of that equation is, holy fuck, that line is ridiculous. Now, maybe I just want him to sign my shit. Maybe I just want to shake his hand. I don't know what my agenda is or what the average person is, but the system he has implemented is, holy fuck, that's a long line. I've heard this at different cons where the person will say, hey, yo, the con's closing at 11, but I'm not. Meet me at the blah, blah, blah. Let's do this, you know, kind of stuff, which is really nice. I don't know if that guy did that, but he would have to, in theory, to hit up everybody because there's a huge fucking line. Now, I'll mention all that because I was not in the Stan Lee line. Stan Lee line, surprise, was ridiculous.
Of course.
Ridiculous. So I remember thinking, dude, what the fuck is this? How is this going to work? You know, like, I'm not going to stand in that line. I'm going to go do other stuff. So, first of all, again, his line was more than everyone else's line. Second of all, to my knowledge, he banged out everybody. I'm like, dude, that's badass.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, before I get to that, I'll say another thing about someone else's line. We're all waiting in line, and it was like, okay, I'm just going to wait. You know, whenever you're ready, okay, I'm just waiting. If you do not control a line, it becomes a cloud. It's really annoying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So in this other person's thing, I'm like, whoa, wait. Who? No, I was next. No, were you next? Okay, no, okay. Let's fix this again. Because we don't know. We're pretty much policing ourselves. It's really annoying. Stan Lee line is, I'm gonna use this word and I mean it in a positive way, is militant. Like you stand here, there's tape on the ground, you go there, don't do this, blah blah blah. Okay.
Who was controlling that? Was it like the convention, I guess, staff, or did he have his own people, or?
I think he had. I think there was definitely staff, and he had a couple of his own people too.
Okay, so but it wasn't self-police. I mean, he's big time, right? So it's not going to be like a self-police thing.
Yes, exactly. Which helps a shit ton. Now I say all that, and I only learned this from someone else who met him because there's no fucking way I was gonna do that. So on one hand, hey Alvin, do you want to be Stan Lee? Yes. On the other hand, are you prepared to stand in the no? I'm not gonna stand. Like, no, I'm sorry. I love Stan Lee, but that's ridiculous. So someone else was in that line, and I was told this is how it works. Okay, so imagine, let's say, I don't know, whatever. Let's say there's a King Kamehameha statue. The King Kamehameha statue is just there. You go up to it, you take a photo, whatever. That's your call. So the Stan Lee thing, here's what happens. Literally, this is what happens. You go up to him, he says, "Good job." Maybe there's a handshake, but essentially it's "Good job." Click, next. Good job. Click, next. Now, that sounds a little shitty. I want to tell this man my life story. I want to tell him he has inspired me, and I want to tell him he's the best. But yo, that's how you get a fucking line that never moves.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, because part of me is like, man, that would suck. I want to talk to him. But then if the line don't move, that's a mess too. So I applaud him because I don't know anyone else who runs a line like that. You get in there, you get your photo, smile right now, motherfucker, because this is all you get. Smile right now. Boom, you smile, get your photo, handshake, good job. And then you move along. Like that needs to be replicated by other people. That's all.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, because some lines just get ridiculous. Like the joke I was making was like, hey, I'm in Disneyland. Like that's how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who this was, but I knew a guy. He was in line like because it's like 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's like, on Sunday, right there. That's my goal. I'm going to go sit over there. That's what I'm doing. So the first minute that thing is open, he's in line. First minute of the day. The whole day passes. He didn't make it in.
Really?
I'm like, yeah. Because the line was crazy. And that guy, I understand. That guy was being nice. Like, hey, what's up with you? Yeah, I'm happy too. Hey, it's great. Like that conversation, like, dude, if everyone has a 10-minute conversation, bro, just 6 people, that's an hour already, And there's only 24 hours in a day. And of course, none of them want to pull 24-hour days. They need to eat and sleep. They're human. But that's why, like, on one hand, I was like, oh, man, that Stan Lee thing makes me sad. But the flip side is, did you get your picture? Yes. Did you touch him? Shook hands? Yes. Like, these are all awesome things. So I applaud that. And I really like it. Amazing.
Interesting. So I'll give you a little anecdote. We're kind of digressing a little bit, but the latest con I went to was RTX. And they control their autograph lines by you are only allowed to get in line if you had signed up previously, like before showing up. Oh, wow. And you are only allowed to sign up for one, or depending on what kind of pass you buy, determines how many autograph lines you can sign up for. So yeah, it is very interesting, but that's the way they controlled it. But granted, it allowed you to not have to do the handshake and go, like the 2-second. Because they controlled it like that. It allowed you to kind of get in there. You get granted, people took longer than others. Some people took longer than others, but you could get like a good picture. You can talk, have them sign a few things. But I thought it was very interesting. And for a convention of that size, I think it's like 70-something thousand people, way bigger than AwesomeCon here. Yeah, you kind of have to have that level of control. I say that because I wonder what that would be like here, because we don't get a lot of, we'll say, larger names that come to these things here because of location and travel. I mean, it seems like, digressing back to a previous show, Jessica Negri seems to be at more cons here than not, actually. It's kind of ironic. But I mean, that's her thing, though. Her thing is to dress up and go to cons and stuff like that, right? Stan Lee, I mean, I'm sure he does a lot of it, but that's not his main gig.
Yes. Okay. That's a really good point. So I like something called commissions. What that means is you go up to a professional artist or whoever and you say, I'm going to hand you money. You hand me back original art. First of all, I love that shit. Okay. Second of all, one of those things is you got to sign up. That's it. Like, try to sign up early. Because the flip side is, I've been to an artist and be like, yo, what's up? Are you ready to? No, dude, I'm full. I'm like, oh well. I guess I should have came to you first minute, but I didn't realize that. So that sucks. You didn't make the list. You're out. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. The thing about that is, because I've talked to artists and I've read stuff about them, by them, etc. And one of them is like, okay, so this is what I do. I draw for Marvel. They pay me. You see my comics. That's what I do. I live as an artist. When I go to a con and I take a commission, that's my own shit. I made that choice. Now, if I choose to draw, quote unquote, a lot, my editor, my guys in the Marvel industry, they don't give a fuck. Well, I mean, I'm sure they do a little, but it's like they have their own agenda. We have comics to make. Like, this shit that I do is my own thing. And that was an interesting point because it's true. Like, professional artist guy, him doing a commission, totally his own animal. Totally. A great example of this is Jim Lee. Love that guy. Amazing artist. I'd pay a lot of money for him. For the record, if I had to eyeball it, probably like 10 grand to get his shit. Like, I'm totally serious.
Like, wait,
the
you're
reason why
gonna
I say
pay
that,
10 grand to get some Jim Lee shit?
yeah, like, okay, so I have a character that I have created. Surprise, I'm a writer. But if I were to say, yo, Jim Lee, this does not exist. Can you draw this thing that I created?
Oh,
Can you
10
do
grand
that?
commission, I see.
Yeah. Yes. Now, the reason why I say that is I'm eyeballing it because there is no number. So what does that mean? He just doesn't do them, period. Zero. He does zero commissions. Commissions by Jim Lee do not exist. Question now is, what's up with that? I've seen Jim Lee drawings. Correct, you have. What that means is he goes to a con, he has a panel, which I've seen, and then he draws stuff. And then he says, all right, who wants it? Let's talk about this. Let's figure out a way to dole this out. But that's not the same as a commission. See, he chose to draw that and he's just giving it away, really. That's what that is. I don't know what he's worth and I don't know how much he makes. But I'm sure so like $50 is cheap for one drawing. Like $1,000 is high quality. So I'm going to assume Jim Lee would be like 10 grand. And the reason why I say that is if he tweeted just, hey, yo, I'm taking commissions, hit me up. Boom, that shit would explode. It'd be ridiculous. So I'm sure in his life and, in his wife's eyes and his kids' eyes or whatever, I'm sure they're all like, just don't take him. Like you're busy enough. And he is. He's a busy guy. So it's a trippy thing, like the whole free time concept at a con. It's a weird thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So back to Stanley. I wonder what his take on the whole, we'll say, because he did DC stuff too, right? Like,
to my knowledge,
really?
No, but he has done crossover stuff.
Oh, I thought.
So, okay. So I don't know who created Wonder Woman. Sorry, creator of Wonder Woman. But Stan Lee, to my knowledge, did his version of a Wonder Woman origin story. It's pretty trippy. Yeah. But it's not like, to my knowledge, that's it. I don't know of any other DC Stan Lee stuff. The artists tend to jump back and forth. The writers, to my knowledge, not the same, or at least not in Stan Lee's case.
I could be wrong. I'm just curious what Stan Lee's take would be on the DC Universe characters, vice, the Marvel ones. I'm not saying that the DC ones are much worse or not as, but at least, again, anecdotally through the movies, I feel like, Marvel's done a really good job at making the characters more than just single dimensional, and DC kind of hasn't. Martha, but I'm curious what Stan Lee, in the style that you described from before, like Stan Lee managing multiple characters. I wonder what Stan Lee's take on that would be.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, wait. Before I get to that, I'll say something else. So this is from I forgot who it was, but it was a comic book creator, and he was saying, because for the record, I, not a Marvel guy, I get the same request. So this big name author was getting asked stuff like, hey man, in your next story, if you could put me in there, that would be cool. Like make a character named Alvin, that would be cool. And I don't remember how many times he's done it, but he definitely did it once. And that one character was a good friend of his. She's a woman and she was in the comic. So of course she gets cool stuff. Maybe not superpowers, but like Jimmy Olsen. Imagine if I had a friend named Jimmy. And I'm like, Jimmy, you want to be in this? Fuck, okay. You won't be Superman, but you'll be Superman's friend, whatever. That's still very cool. So this female character, I don't remember what she did, but I do remember fans are like, hey, she's kind of cool, you know? So this is very common in comic book writing. People will create stuff, and unlike, say, Naruto, they pass the reins on to someone else. That's very, very
Yeah.
common. It's very common.
Like Stan Lee's
So-
not writing now, right? He's not
Correct.
creating things now. It's been
Correct.
passed on many times over, but they're his characters to
Correct.
begin with.
Yes, definitely. Now, the flip side of that is he might still be like commenting and
Oh,
helping.
I'm sure he has input still. I'm sure to some degree, even in his 90s, he still has input in some places somewhere.
Yes, yes. So here's the thing: that guy who made that character, all the fans are like, "Hey, cool stuff." He's like, "Yeah, man, it's cool." But then eventually, I don't know if he retired or if he just said, "Yo, it's cool, man. I'm gonna bounce on this. You know, someone else is gonna write it. All you fans, thanks for all the love over the years. Good luck with that." So the new writer comes in, and thankfully, I do not remember his name. And the new writer comes in, and he's like, "Okay, let's shake things up. Let's do this. Let's change some stuff." First character, or down the line, who dies? That one woman. And I remember because he said the woman came up to him. She's like, "What the fuck, man? I was enjoying that. Why'd you kill her?" And then he says, "Because that wasn't mine. You know, I passed the reins on, and that's what happens. That's just part of the deal. Sometimes shit like that happens, you know." So the flip side of that equation is like some people love death stories, or well, bittersweet, but it really affects them and they like it. Like I don't think Gwen Stacy should ever truly come back. Now, if they're retelling the story, yeah, it's all good. But like not like Jean Grey or Captain America. I feel like Gwen Stacy should stay gone, which is a really terrible thing to say, I guess. But I love Gwen Stacy. I think she's awesome. Having said that, her what she stands for in death, I think, is great.
Fantastic. No, fantastic. Not really fantastic, but absolutely right. The death of Gwen Stacy was a huge turning point for Spider-Man in general, and I agree with you that it would completely eliminate that entire arc if she came back. And
you know, totally. As a quick aside, I want to say that I'm not spoiling it because I think this is the beginning of the story. But anyway, there's a story where Spider-Man himself, Peter Parker, he's just kind of sad. So he takes out a recording or a recorder and he starts talking into it. And I don't remember everything and I don't want to spoil it, but he's saying stuff like, you know, "Man, fuck, life is hard and this sucks. So I just want to record some of my thoughts for now." And what was it? It was him essentially talking, quote unquote, to Gwen Stacy. It was so nice. And it really hits you because it's like, "Yo, Peter, we understand, man. That was your girl and you loved her." You know, like there's that feeling of it's fucking great. Okay, one, I don't think I just spoiled that because there's a huge twist thing at the end and I love the shit out of. Two, I believe it's called Spider-Man Blue. I bought that as a gift to a friend of mine. He loved it too. It's just great. It's by Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb is probably one of my favorite writers in comics.
Speaking of spoilers, we did just spoil the age-old Gwen Stacy story as well as the Amazing Spider-Man 2. But if any of you have not seen that movie yet and you're just
come on, man, no. I mean, okay, you're right.
Spoilers,
right. Okay. Regarding that, this is an MCU thing. I remember I know the comics, so I told my friend MCU, "There's something I want to tell you, but I don't want to spoil it for you." Blah blah blah, and he's like, "Fuck it, just throw it at me." And I said, "Oh, Bucky is the Winter Soldier." And he's like, "Dude, everyone knows that." I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. You know, I didn't want to ruin it for." I think Gwen Stacy's at that level where if you've read anything, you kind of know what's
Speaking, it's really funny. Like, so, having, you know, watching the MCU movies with like other people, and I feel like I'm one of the only, I guess, comic book nerds or, you know, Marvel nerds that kind of grew up watching, you know, reading some comics and playing with cards. With the people I see the movie with now, you know, after the movie, they're always asking me, "Okay, so what does this actually mean?" The most recent one, Infinity War. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil the end of Infinity War because I guess that's recent enough, but still too fucking bad for you guys that haven't seen that movie. You shouldn't be listening to this podcast that says Stan Lee on it. Anyway, so we're watching Infinity War, and you know the ending happens, and after the movie, I don't know. Oh, you know, I took my mom to see it, and my mom looks at me and she says, "Wait, that's the end? That's how it's gonna end?" I'm like, don't worry. I was like, don't worry. There's another movie. Oh, okay. Right. For those, and that wasn't the first time I got that reaction from people that don't know, Marvel Comics or don't know the Infinity Gauntlet story. It's very interesting to me that that's how a new, I don't want to say generation of people, because it's really the same generation of people. It's just a new audience of people, we'll say, are being introduced to these stories. Yet I'm not saying I know them all, but I'm relatively familiar with a lot of these characters just because of having seen it through childhood. And that's how they're seeing this for the first time in the cinematic format, and it's super cool to see. But yeah, I get those I get those moments where like, wait a minute, did that just happen? I'm like, don't worry, it's cool, like.
Okay, I have a question for you. So this is what I knew, and then all my friends shit on me like, no, you're crazy. So I want to see what you say to this, because I don't believe I was crazy, and what I know has been confirmed. Okay, I should have said that second. But anyway, before Avengers,
are you gonna spoil something?
No.
I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you.
Well, this is very meta. This is real world shit. So this is us as people who can say, like, I can shake the hands of Kevin Feige, but in theory, Peter Parker never can because fictional character. And like, this is real world shit. Okay, before Avengers came out, I was told, I swear I saw this somewhere, 2 Avengers movies are coming back to back. Do you remember that?
That and this is all the way back from Avengers 1?
No. Before Infinity War.
Oh, yes, absolutely. The marketing was
yes. Thank you. Fuck. Okay, the reason why I say that is I said that to someone and like, well, you're fucking crazy, man. That's not how that works. I'm like, no, I saw that somewhere. And the flip side of that is if in the middle of a movie someone dies or something crazy happens, I know the movie's not over yet. Because I know it's not over yet. If it's only been 15 minutes, then don't worry. The detective will figure out the case. So with Infinity War ending on, I'll just say, a sad note, I'm like, no, I know this is part 1. There's still a part 2. Fuck, everybody calm your shit. There's still a part 2 coming. Everybody relax. I said that to someone. They're like, nah, you crazy, man. I never heard of that. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I swear I heard that. I swear I heard that.
No. You're right. But you have to follow, you have to be someone who is, I guess, informed, right? Like I know it was announced. I knew it was announced like that. I knew they're gonna make another movie a year later. But I follow that. I know, I am looking for that information. There are many people that just, oh look, new movie came out. Like I was the one that had to tell other people, like, hey, Infinity War's coming out. You gonna see it? You know, go see it with me? Kind of thing. Like, it's coming out this weekend. It's coming out next weekend. Like I was the one following it, knowing, exactly what was going on with it. So I can see to where, yes, you're right. It is, I want to say obvious, but maybe not obvious to some. But think about the flip side. Think about the opposite, though. They've done so many things with the Marvel movies. So like, if someone wasn't following the buzz, right, and they didn't know that there was a part 2, they could very well, not retcon, but they could very well recover from the ending of Infinity War over the course of like 5 movies or more.
Okay, wait. Here's the thing, though. I understand exactly what you're describing. For instance, there were some women who I know who know nothing about Marvel, nothing. And they were saying shit like, oh, can't wait to see Avengers. I'm like, really? I don't know if you're trolling me right now. Is this a real statement? And good for them. I'm glad they went to go see it. But they are the ones who do not follow. For the record, the guys giving me shit are guys like me and you who do follow. I'm like, how the fuck do you not know this A and B thing, this 2-parter thing?
Side. Okay, anyway, not to say that women don't like comic books.
True. Very true. Okay. Having said that, I saw a thing where Marvel apparently, or at least someone was like, yo guys, that was it. That was a real thing that happened. Accept it as reality. And the point of that is, tell Alvin and Chris to shut up. Okay. Their shit is fake because this is real and this is how it ends. But every comic book person knows, no, fuck that. That's not the end. I know that's not the end. I know how Infinity Gauntlet shit works for the most part. And I know that's not the end. Like I felt bad that I was not crying at the end. Well, don't get me wrong, not crying, but like I didn't even react. I saw it happening. I was a little sad. I'm like, whatever. People were crying from what I've heard. People were actually crying. I'm like, no, that's not fair to them. That's not fair to them. Come on, man. You movie creators, you know. And again, the worst part is you announced it as part 1, part 2. I'm not fucking crazy. Anyway.
Slash rant.
Yes,
Slash
thank
rant.
you. Yes, ranting. Yes, ranting. Yes, I was ranting. It's just like, okay. Anyway, but the flip side is they have later on said that it's 2 parts again. So it's like on and off. Having said that, and this is a very current thing, and this is us dating it, Tom Holland has a new suit. Oh, that's nice. He has a new Spider-Man suit. That was all over the place. So.
Well, they also announced that there's gonna be another Spider-Man movie. Now, okay. So now, here's the interesting part in that we know the Infinity Gauntlet story, and to make it even more interesting, I don't know if Stan Lee was involved in that one, if that was past his time, but anyway, the comics have a way of like doing these major events and then erasing them because they're not gonna lose money off of the popularity, off of the character popularity and things like that, right? But I'm almost certain to say that the movie series is not going to retcon the Infinity War ending, like how Infinity Gauntlet got retconned. Like if you remember from that, like in the comic book story, it was quick. Bad shit happened, and it turned around pretty quick within a couple issues. If I remember correctly, it's a long time ago now, and that makes sense because in comic books, like when things are newly released, there's a break in between the next one coming out, and you don't want to alienate your readers by having something bad happen over like a super long period of time because maybe they'll buy more, maybe they just get turned off by it. But I'm interested to see how let's be honest, they're gonna retcon it, or maybe they won't retcon it, but I'm interested to see how that turns out in this upcoming movie. Even more so, I wonder if they consulted Stan Lee for any of this stuff because they're changing the old stories, right? It's going to be different. Guarantee it's going to be different. I wonder what hand Stan Lee had in all that.
So this is a writery thing. Okay. The whole deal with Fantastic Four is the 4 of them went into space, shit happened, they came back, they have powers. Dr. Doom never, ever, ever, ever was a part of that. Dr. Doom did the whole studying science, studying magic, blah, blah, blah. In the movie, however, one of the movies, 5 of them go up. Dr. Doom goes up with them. He also develops powers. They all come back. Now, as a comic book purist, I'd say, fuck that shit. That's fake. He didn't go up there. But as a writer, as someone understanding how screenplays have to be, I understand. You got to cram that shit in there. Like if the story flows better and it makes more sense, do it. Don't worry about the original stuff. Just do what you got to do. A great example of that too is Kane Marco. He's the Juggernaut. He was never a mutant in the comics. He got magical powers, but in the movie, fuck it, just make him a mutant. All right, everybody's a mutant. Moving on, because we're not gonna have Kane Marco go exploring a temple, have the temple crash on him, touch a gem. No, fuck all that. There's only so many minutes you can fit into a movie.
The Juggernaut,
bitch. Yes, I'm a big Juggernaut fan. That shit was weird, but anyway, I was a big Juggernaut fan.
That must have been, you being a Juggernaut fan, that must have been one of the low points.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm just gonna keep it real. That was weird. But anyway, I understand the changes. So who knows what Stan would have said? I think Stan still would have said, "No, it's cool though. Do what you got to do." Because again, my understanding of the Stan Lee system was he would write blurry things, intentionally blurry. The artist would draw and it would come back. Then he would just deal with it. And I think he would look at it the same way. Like, okay, we're just gonna deal with the changes. Okay, whatever you wanted to do, let's try this. Like Red Skull being that movie still makes my brain hurt. That's on AlohaAlvin.com. You can read all that. There's so many things I've said about it. Just okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that Stan, even as you describe him, wouldn't try to rein in other creators that take some liberties with these characters. I think at least from what I've seen, the soul, you can say, of the characters still remains accurate to what the intent. Yes. Intent's a tough word too, but to what the original creations were. Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man versus Andrew Garfield Spider-Man versus Tom Holland Spider-Man, 3 different Spider-Mans in terms of character, 3 different Peter Parkers. But all of them still kind of embody what Peter Parker Spider-Man is, just in slightly different ways. So I'm willing to bet that Stan was probably consulted on most, if not all, of these things. And it seems to me that he would, A, appreciate, and B, 100% be all in on the liberties they're taking with the Marvel universe.
Okay, I gotta say this, and I've never actually handed this huge a compliment to anyone. So here we go. Enjoy, Mr. Lee. All right. I was watching this thing, I was reading this thing, and I remember this was a very interesting concept. Okay. So if I talk to you about Hercules or say Zeus, certain things come to mind. These are gods from before, cool ass stories. There's a lesson here, don't go spiting this person or whatever, blah blah blah. There's a lesson, there's a moral, and we hear about these superpowered figures, and that was like Greek mythology, all the way back then. The flip side is we don't really have that now, but we do have comics, and the parallels are kind of screaming. Actually, I thought it was very interesting. Like one of them was Peter Parker. Okay, so Peter Parker, he's just a guy. Like on one hand, he can climb walls. I can't do that. Shoot webs. I can't do that. But the dude's got to pay rent. I get that. The dude's kind of awkward around women. Sure, I get that. All my guy friends, I'm sure, get that on one level or another. There's a bonding to it. And in a way, this is kind of like our mythology. And I do wonder, like legit, I do wonder if 100 years from now, 200 years from now, if someone says, all right, class, we're doing history and lit today or whatever. Turn your page to 500. We're doing Stan Lee. Let's go. Like the creator of these myths. And I do wonder how that will be envisioned in the future.
That's interesting. I mean, it's very to compare the comic age, we'll say, with mythology. I mean, really, if you really look at them, you're right. I mean, it's stories of grandeur, right? Totally. Whether true or not. I mean, we know that the comic ones aren't true, and maybe back in ancient times they thought that the stories were true because they didn't know otherwise, or maybe they did know otherwise, But either way, who knows if they were actually true or not? But I think it is interesting to think that they are mythos type thing, and how that's evolved, like you say, to where like the gods and the gods of Zeus and things like that are so grandiose and so far removed from you and I. You can only renown them, but people like Spider-Man and these other guys are flawed, right? They're relatable, and maybe that's the point, and that's, I guess, the evolution of that type of storytelling.
See, for me, this is total comic book nerd mode here, but for me, there's some life lessons in there. Here's my theory on the Incredible Hulk. Whoever it was, because I'm assuming they had like a meeting where, hey, let's talk about characters. Whoever it was that brought up the premise, I think, had a day like this. Okay, he was doing his own shit. Some guy was being a dick, and he said, "Man, I'm gonna punch you in the face," or something like that. You're making me angry. Back off. You're making me angry. Boom, punch him in the face. Or maybe just thought about punching him in the face. Then he says, man, that's not right. I gotta learn how to control my shit, and because that's what the Hulk is. He's like an inner demon, rage out of control. Like there's a lot of stories like that. Like, yo, when you Hulk out, the entire city pays. Like, this is dangerous shit. We need you to be calm. And they even addressed that in the Avengers. Like, when you're on the helicarrier, don't go crazy because we're all going to die. But again, from a personal standpoint, yeah, I want people to be calm and civil. I want people to be nice to each other. Totally. Same concept. Spider-Man's with great power, all that good stuff. Yeah, I think of the same thing. I love that premise. In the comics, I believe the wrestling manager just shits on him, and then Peter Parker's like, dude, pay me or whatever. Like, treat me like a human. What the hell? And the manager's like, yeah, that's not my problem. Later on, the manager gets robbed, and that robber is running away, and Peter Parker's like, I don't feel like dealing with that. That's on you. Bye. That guy also later on kills his uncle, right? Like that all sucks. That was a chain of events that happened because he did not step his ass up. It's the whole when good men do nothing, evil triumphs. Like, you're seeing it happen. And I love those things. Like, it reminds me of, I don't remember his name, but this is, I think, from Greek mythology. There's that guy who was staring at his own reflection in the water. Like, you can't let vanity overtake you. And I forgot what happens to him, but I'm sure it's all bad things. Like, I love these lessons. And I think of these lessons as stuff you can tell other people. I've heard people say, jokingly and otherwise, with great power, like, totally. I agree.
Absolutely. So even more so, it's interesting to think that comic books and by extension, then Stan Lee shaped society, right? In
Yes.
some way.
Yes. Totally.
Like you
Totally.
can say propaganda or what. There were definite influences from and on comic books, when they were more popular before, that, like you mentioned the Hulk story, right? Maybe that would help people deal with anger because that's, they identify with Bruce Banner. So in the same way, the characters that, you write, they make them that way for that reason, and hopefully it helps people. And it's interesting to think about it like that, because I personally associate more with the, I guess not old, but original type characters from before, because I wonder, to bring it full circle, if people who are seeing these movies for the first time have that same reaction, or is it just, because it's a movie, you're just detached from it, as opposed to comics, which I'm not saying that your people are more into comics than movies. I do think the consumption media is different. But let me tell you, Death of Superman, I was floored. That was heavy, as an example. So I wonder if it's different now than it was before in that aspect.
Interesting. Yeah, there have definitely been movies that I felt moved. So I totally understand.
But yeah, it's interesting because no, I agree too. There are movies where I felt moved, but I don't feel that way with Marvel. Again, maybe it's just me.
Ooh, oh, okay, man, you're opening up a whole nother kind of worms. There's a lot to say there.
Oh boy, that we might have to save that for another show.
Yes, it's the MCU, EU, etc. Yes.
Yeah, MCU, EU in review, sure, whatever you want to call it. Like, well, like the segue. I say that because, again, going back to some of the content I watched, that kind of funny. They did that. They rewatched every single MCU movie and did a podcast show on each one, like over a
Nice.
series of months, all the way up to Infinity War. Cool content, good stuff. I think it's one of their more popular shows, actually. Even people that don't like watch them normally get into that. But yeah, they watch one every week, and then when Infinity War came out, they did a review of that one, and then anyway, super cool stuff. But I don't know that we can ever dissect the entire MCU. Maybe we could. Like, that'd be a tough one. But
I will tell you my deal on a lot of things. My whole deal is dissecting things.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
yeah, I could.
we're on a show that dissects things. Hence,
Yes,
like,
yes. Totally.
But
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I'll
Go
throw
ahead.
2 cents on this. So, this was a former supervisor. So this is whatever year it was that the Edward Norton Hulk movie came out.
This is a while. Okay,
Yeah,
2008,
it was a while.
9, maybe something like that.
Whatever.
Sure.
So anyway, I remember talking to my fellow male coworker and saying, "Yeah, it looks cool. I'll check it out. Whatever. Hulk movies, good stuff." And then she says, "It's so frustrating because I like Edward Norton, but I don't like comics. I don't know if I want to see that." And all I could think was, that's why they got him. They got the big names to get people like you to go, because I'm going to go anyway. Like, I know I want to go. They want to get you, the person who's half deciding to go. They want you to go. So in that sense, like, movies can bring in other people as well. Because, like, there's still a stigma to comics. Okay, I don't feel that way. Obviously, I like comics, but there's still a stigma to it. A great example of that is a friend of mine. I'm going to call him Moon. Okay. So anyway,
I like the names that you make up every time. Someone out there in the internet world, make a log of the different names that Alvin uses for his friends, and eventually we're gonna cross-reference all these different episodes and find out if he's actually talking about the same person with the same name every time, or if it's actually just one person all the way through and he makes up a different name every time. Someone out there, please do it, because I'm not gonna do it when I edit this shit. Someone do it and hit us up. Thank you.
Okay. For the record, I was talking to Moon about it, and he loves Superman. Like, holy shit. So I'm like, that's great. Let's talk about Superman. He's the biggest Smallville fan I've ever met, ever. And then Man of Steel or whatever, those movies are coming out. Fuck yeah. So then something came out animated. And I'm like, dude, have you seen this thing? It's great. He's like, nah, man. I'm like, wait, no, it's a Superman movie. It's a Superman animated movie. Have you seen that movie? He's like, no. I'm like, what the hell? Who am I talking to right now? What's happening? And he's like, well, I watched the live action stuff. I refuse to watch animated. I'm like, why? But for whatever reason, in his brain, animated is not okay. So I'm grateful that there's all the live action stuff, and I'm grateful that Superman was in his life for a bit, and I think still very much so. So good for him. But for some reason, that change in medium bothers the hell out of him, and I cannot explain that.
I mean, like the same thing as you said earlier, the stigma against comics, right? It's a similar type thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Like
I can see that.
there are people that associate, comics with that, we'll say nerd culture and all that stuff, right? And there are people that, don't like to associate with that, and that's okay. I mean, that's everyone's choice. Animation and is also part of that in the same light. If you ask me, they're very closely linked.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will say this. So I did not. No, I think I did. No. Okay. I watched Suicide Squad. I enjoyed it. I also watched the animated. I forgot what it was called. I think it was Assault on Arkham or something like that. But there's essentially a Suicide Squad, but animated. So one, breaking news: people shit all over Suicide Squad, which makes me sad because I did enjoy it. Two, there's like a consensus. The thing that was animated is the superior movie. So if you care about these characters and you want to watch the better movie, supposedly anyway, of the two, then you would watch the animated one. Like you're denying yourself a better story.
Bro,
That breaks my heart.
did you see the Killing Game? The
No.
Killing Joker, the Batman one.
Oh, I believe I've read it. I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, that thing.
That's really
it's really good though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, and it's animated. I've heard a lot of good things about the animated stuff, but there's that whole stigma, unfortunately.
Dude, Into the Spider-Verse is gonna be good. I have high hopes.
I have high hopes as well. I'm a little nervous, but I have high hopes.
I really hope. I mean, did you see Venom? I didn't see Venom.
Oh, okay. One, I saw Venom. Two, I enjoyed Venom though. That's the thing.
Okay.
I enjoyed Venom. People shit all over that too. Like, holy shit, it's terrible. But hey, it brought in the money, and I think there's a sequel coming. Awesome stuff. So I enjoyed that. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we've gone all around the world with our showing everyone how much of comic nerds we are, and that's fine. But yeah, it's all because of really one guy, Stan Lee. I mean, to me at least. I mean, of course, there's, like I said, other artists and things like that are fantastic. But to me, when I think of comics, I think of Stan Lee, and it really shaped what I enjoy watching, doing, seeing, consuming.
Totally agree. All right. So a long time ago, comics were a different animal. I think there was stuff like mystery things and then like horror comics. So I guess if you wanted to read like a Dracula comic, that was a very common thing. Now, not as common. I'm sure there's one somewhere, but now it's more like the superhero thing or Walking Dead, that kind of stuff. It's a different animal entirely. However, there was a time when horror was the big thing. It's just a huge thing. At that time, Stanley, someone told Stanley, yo, make me a team book, make it happen. And Stanley's like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So that's when he started thinking about the Fantastic Four. Now, I don't know if you ever thought about what they do and what they are, but they're very much so like Earth, Wind, Water, and Fire. So obviously, Earth would be the Thing, and Fire is Johnny Storm. There you go. And then the Wind would be, I think the Wind was Sue, because she can go invisible. And then the Water would be like Reed Richards. Not that he's water-based, but he can move like water. That kind of thing. So anyway, he had his old premise. He knew what he wanted to do. Then I think someone said to him, hold up, man, before you do that, our horror books are selling really well. Can you fit that in there? And it's like, I'm doing superhero stuff. This is kind of weird. No. Horror is selling well. Make it happen. Then think about it this way. Okay, so who's in the Fantastic Four? Mr. Fantastic, cool ass name. Invisible Woman, also cool. Human Torch, badass name, right? The Thing. His name is The Thing. I can't name the movies perfectly, but isn't there like the Thing from the Dangerous Area, like Black Lagoon?
Yeah, I'm sure there's. Yeah. So it sounds familiar enough.
There's many.
Yeah, someone let us know. Yeah, there's many thing like.
Yeah. So in this case, he's the Thing, and then when you think about it like that, I'm like, oh my god, of course, it all fits. On top of that, first family of Marvel, it did well. So not only was he creating his own family of characters, not only was he adding superpowers, he also had to juggle in horror story stuff, and it still works. That is amazing. Just that's all I'm saying.
Audible applause. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. No, that's cool. I actually did not know that origin story. A meta, we'll say, part of the origin story.
Yeah, meta.
I wonder if like Ben Grimm would have looked differently if not for that influence.
Ooh, exactly. See, I don't know either. Yeah, who
Would
knows?
he have just been like a dude with like that could do rock stuff, as opposed to
Yeah,
a rock
true.
dude?
Yeah, exactly. Earthquake
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Right? Who knows?
exactly. I mean, all the rest of the, I mean, Human Torch can technically turn on and off, right? And the other ones still look, Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman still look, we'll say, like normal humans, right?
Yeah, they could pass Smith out.
Exactly,
Totally.
exactly.
Yeah.
But on that note, part of the whole dynamic of the Fantastic Four is the fact that the thing looks how he looks.
Mm.
And maybe I don't know if that was the original intention or not, but as it rolled out and through the years, that's been a recurring theme.
Interesting. True, true. Here's something that's more recent. I was told about this, and I kind of read it somewhere, but I'm not too familiar because I haven't been following as much recently. So the whole premise of the thing was, you'll read, fix this, turn me back. I want to turn back. Okay. So Reed is like, yo, I got you. Don't worry about it. But then it was a problem. He could never do it. Someone else, also intelligent, said, yo, the thing, I'm working on this. You give me some time. I'm working on it. That person could not cure Ben Grimm. Couldn't. However, that person said, you know what, man? I can't cure you, but I can give you 1 day. So what does that mean? For 1 day, you will be Ben Grimm and you will look like Ben Grimm. And I think it's like an annual thing for him, so 1 day a year he has Ben Grimm time. I guess he parties a lot. I don't know what he does, but isn't that crazy? That's so cute, right? Like, oh, that's awesome. Awesome storyline. Okay, anyway.
Interesting. But I mean, the whole premise behind it is, you're right. They can't quote unquote cure him, and it's the whole acceptance of it, right? Like that's
Yes.
like, and that's a powerful narrative in and of itself.
Yes. It is sad and beautiful that the girlfriend I know that he has is blind. So it's beautiful because, she just accepts him for his personality and all that good stuff. But then another way of phrasing it is, the one woman on earth who could put up with his ass is blind. I don't like that in a way, but it's still nice.
I mean, they had to spin that story somehow, I guess. So that's a whole other twist to it.
It's very tragic. Yeah. Yes.
So for those who, are not huge comic book people, and thank you for letting us indulge ourselves. But I mean, again, the whole point, that entire story arc that we're talking about, really because of one guy, Stan Lee. He created the Fantastic Four. All those depths and layers to the characters were all really because of him. All right. Thank you for hanging out with us today on How's It Cousins, the podcast where we take a look at the unique people of the world. We talk about them, we relate to them, and hopefully, especially today, we relate them to you. Thank you again for allowing us to remember and memorialize Stan Lee. It was through him that Marvel and comics in general have been able to tell incredible stories of heroes and gods while still making them relatable to the average human being like you and me. They have been an inspiration on my life and many others, and continue to impact through the cinematic universe and all the different properties that they're doing now.
Man, I am a creator and I am a writer, and I am no Stan Lee. It's just, too often we're reminded of how little time we truly have. And I'm glad we did today's rundown. It feels good. Stan Lee, thumbs up.
If you like what you heard today, you can check out all of our other episodes on all the popular podcast services. Make sure you like, favorite, or subscribe to us there. If you want to see more of what we're doing, you can check that out at howsitnetwork.com. Make sure you follow our social media at howsitnetwork on all the social media networks.
Also, I am Aloha Alvin, and you can find more of that Alvin-y goodness at alohaalvin.com. It's a site for writers, but if you like the way I speak, I'm sure you like that stuff too.
Thank you for lending us your beautiful ears. And just remember, it's not goodbye. Excelsior.
Enough said.